let's talk about what really happened in my storyline of the Ghostbusters. Let's begin after Ghostbusters 2. You know, yada yada yada, they use Statue of Liberty, break through the museum, and lo and behold, the museum is safe at the end of the day. Who would have known? Who knew? Whoever knew? Who would have known? Who would have ever known? Not really anybody. Other than the people that were there. But then over time, something happens. Egon looks over. Gleam on his glasses. Just like always. And he says to Ray, I want to own a farmhouse. I don't want just the firehouse to be our place. But I want the firehouse to be the group's place. And he says to Ray stands. I want somewhere a bit newer. So then Ray says, okay. Then Ray looks up somewhere that hasn't really been explored, really, called Shandor Mines. And that's part of the property. Although after exploring, he puts up these signs warning anyone who dare enter. No trespassing. Do not enter. The dead will rise. God is not with you. All of these things just to keep out the ongoers that may come by, or because he himself moved away from said farmhouse. But Ray knew very well of the farmhouse. And after Egon's tragic accident with a paranormal entity, let's say it was the devil himself in this scenario. Here would be the best ending for Ghostbusters 3 as well, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I will give it out because I think this would be the perfect ending because of some of the art I've seen and some of the other things that I've really enjoyed. So, here we go. After they, 37 years ago, saved the world, and then 30 years after that, did it again with a giant Statue of Liberty, they get the place, and then Egon has a kid with, I believe, Janine. This is why alll has been left aside, because her mom has basically moved on. But she doesn't really know that. Alll does not know that her mom has kind of moved on. And her dad, well, he had a tragic accident too. He was taken by another ghost. Now, this was a different type of ghost, but I think they were all in the same car operation. The car operation that Mr. Hugh, in my storyline, would have started. And that's how my storyline personally ties in. Next, his kids grow older. They have grandkids, And then the mom gets a divorce. She gets a divorce because she just can't stand how abusive this guy was. And not knowing the rest of their family tree, they decide to move. After they move, they get an eviction notice saying, you must be out in some odd days. The mother, Callie, looks discreet. She looks sad. She looks like she has only her 2 kids to hoist her up. Of course, Trevor being a nice, good build on, well, Phoebe is the scientific one who knows all the science and all the probabilities of this happening or this even succeeding. But after all this time, they find out their legacy and thus destroy whatever evil entity is down in the mines, or even if it's the portal to the other world, shutting said portal by crossing the streams or whatever they need to do. And then everything goes back to being okay. Then they take down the signs, and at the end, they do get a visitor, not of this world, and it is Mr. Egon Spengler. He looks at them with the same glare in his glasses that he did with Ray, and he says, "You have freed me. I am at peace," because this dark entity was holding Spengler at the farm, which is another plot twist that would be great to have. That Spengler's spirit was stuck at the farm until they release the portal and everything is free. Everything that was trapped there, free. Heck, even Slimer is free. Not that he was in the first place, but still. Finding all vases in the basement of positive slime, spores, molds, fungus, all the stuff that they wish to treasure still, just in case any other bad ghosts come along. And they have to use this stuff. Now, it could also be positive slime that helps close up this thing, but we don't really know. In the end, though, Spengler looks behind him, grabbing Slimer's hand. Slimer and Muncher alike, both happy, both satisfied with how they know that they don't have to hunger anymore on this earth, unless they really wanted to. But they both look like they have a smile on their face with Spengler, who became friends with them. He nods, and knowing that all the paranormal outrages, such as the Stay Puft Marshmallows and all this other stuff that may have happened, is now gone. The shaking is gone. Everything was free. Everything was at peace. He looks with a smile, his glasses turning fully white to not see his eyes. And he grabs both of their hands, and they walk away from the proton pack on the ground, back into the mines of where heaven awaits. And instead of the stairs going down, the stairs led straight up to the clouds. Spengler looking back, seeing tears in Phoebe's and Trevor's eyes, knowing that also they had some help, knowing that he was happy that these were the new Ghostbusters, and knowing that with his team, looking at them as well, saying, "Long time no see." And that is their simple goodbye. This was a great idea because it's like Spengler's spirit was held there. They don't really know what their connection really is, but Spengler's spirit not fully showing himself yet. Wants them to know where their place is in all this, and wants them to know where they came from, basically, and why he set aside this farmland in the first place. With, of course, Ray always knowing. He looks up with that glare in his eye, like he did in Ghostbusters 2 at the end, when he was happy with his team. All the team having a glare in their eye, looking up, seeing their friend ascend to the heavens above, thinking that they could also just leave the business to the younger generation, knowing that they could retire and leave it behind. Or would they, is the question. Because there was still another team involved. And this is just my storyline. Because then, after Ghostbusters 3 was done, we would get the catching up on my story, which would have Hugh and how he started all of these outbreaks of paranormal activity. And Grimerson, how they both were a part of the same association to make these ghosts and conjure them up with the slime. This was negative slime, not positive slime. And this is why they would taint it certain places, because then it would stretch and reach certain objects. Then, and only then, would it be to where they knew that the paranormal entities would take over, and that they would have had it all along. Now, Giberson may not actually be a part of this. Hugh definitely was. So, that's just a nice little film theory for you. And a great ending, because then we would know that Spengler's thing would move on, and this would give more authentication to why, in my series, I hear all of their voices, because some of them go into a meditative trance, because he comes back to let them know that there's another team, and that somebody in that team needs their help, which would have been, in that scenario, me. So, that's just something I have thought hardly and harder about. And just another good ending to Ghostbusters, as they all were confident of defeating Vigo. They knew that something more was yet to come. They just didn't know when. And when it happened, they got together and they said, we need to fight this one last time. And they were all totally on board with it. That's all I have to give for now. This has been AJ Theories. Sometimes we do this, and other times I don't even know.